Good job, Claudia Gray. Star Wars Bloodline. Alright, so Star Wars Bloodline is another Star Wars canon book. This book is written by Claudia Gray. Claudia Gray wrote the book Star Wars Lost Stars, a YA book that I read last year, which I could not put down. It was a really good book. Now this book, I started back in May, and I'm finishing it now in September. I'm a slow reader, and part of the book I kind of lost interest in, but I started reading it again this week, and I got really into it, and it's a really good book. So basically the premise is, it's set 8 years before the events of Star Wars The Force Awakens. And what I really like about this book is it's a political story. And one thing I liked about how the book was, I don't know if she did this intentional, but she kind of mirrored our history. You know, the Star Wars stories have always mirrored American history. You know, like the original trilogy was meant to resemble the World War II between Nazi Germany. The stormtroopers are actually supposed to be Nazis, really, if you want to look to it. I think that's even more parable in Star Wars The Force Awakens. When you hear General Hux speech, it's such a Hitler-type speech. But one thing I liked about the Star Wars Bloodline was how there were some good Easter eggs, and you can totally get how the characters end up where they are. So what I like about this book is it mirrors American history. I'm a big history fanatic. And one parts of history I really like is the history between the Federalist Party and the Jeffersonian Republican Party. These two parties completely clashed. They were the founding fathers. You have Alexander Hamilton versus Thomas Jefferson and his party. The Federalists were a party, they believed in a strong central government. They needed to have a strong military. Where the Thomas Jefferson's party, they wanted a party where the states kind of govern themselves. They didn't want the government to have so much power. And that's really what the book is about. There's these two parties. There's the Populist Party and the Centralist Party. The first party is Populist. The Populist Party believed that the own planets need to govern themselves. They need to be kind of isolated from each other. And then the Centrist planets are more like, the Centrist planets, they want a strong, united government. They have really high they really have high imperial ties to them. They like what the Empire stood for, but they didn't like what Palpatine had done. And really what I liked about this book is you could see the point of view from multiple characters. You could see the point of view, and that's what I really liked about it. First off, Leia. First off, Claudia Gray knows how to write Princess Leia perfectly. And really, I liked her character growth throughout the book. The main story of the book is Leia and this other Senator Castro, or Castelfillo, however you want to say his name, they combine to investigate a cartel that's being led by one of these Nico characters. They all revere Leia because she killed Jabba the Hutt. The Nico were slaves to the Hutts for centuries. But one thing I really liked about this book was how it set up what would eventually be the Resistance. Also what I really liked about it was how it tied up to the First Order. It takes you you have to get at least 2/3 through this book, but once you do, you couldn't stop reading. Once I got 2/3 through this book, I was like, holy crap, the First Order? That's really cool. And then you hear stuff about the Resistance. There are some cool characters in this. You have Greer. She's like a character. She's from this really cool planet of warriors. You also have another character. You have Joss Sea Striker. He's like an X-Wing pilot who hasn't had any action because there's no war. The character I really liked the most was Caspero, the character I was just talking about. He ties up with Leia, and he's a centralist. That's one thing I liked. You had Leia, who was a populist. You had Caspero, who's a centralist, and they tried to work together to bring down what's going on. Overall, Star Wars Bloodline. It's not my favorite Star Wars canon book, but I think it's a really interesting, unique book in the Star Wars canon universe. You know, some of the problems you have in the Star Wars prequels is they focus too much on politics. And a book in like Star Wars Bloodline is a perfect place to tell this kind of story. The politics talk got me really interested in the Star Wars story of it. If you like The Force Awakens and want to know a little more about what was going on before, I recommend checking out this book. I'm gonna give Star Wars Bloodline an A-. If you read Star Wars Bloodline, what are your thoughts? Comment below, let me know. And tell me in the comment section below, what is your favorite Star Wars canon book so far? For me personally, I would have to go Lords of the Sith. If you like this video, click that thumbs up button, subscribe to see more, tell your friends about Easy Nation. All too easy.